Welcome to the best part of landing a job. You've done all the coding exercises you can do. You've prepared for the interview. You've done the interview. You've answered all the questions. And now you wait. And hopefully you hear back with good news. But the game doesn't really end there. As a matter of fact, this is the fun part. This is what you work for. And there's an easy, obvious way of going about it, which is not practicing and not learning how to handle offers or negotiation, or a bit of a harder way where we learn how to do these things properly so that overall we're able to have higher salaries, work for better companies, and just overall be more satisfied with our jobs. So we're going to take some time in this section to learn these skills that, again, will allow you to grow a lot faster and be more satisfied with your jobs. Let's have a look at what we're going to talk about. In this section, we're going to talk about how to handle an offer. When after the interview, somebody says, "Hey, congratulations, we want to work with you. Here's your offer." What do? Do you just say yes? What about handling multiple offers? A lot of people don't talk about this, but when you're interviewing, most likely you're interviewing at a lot of companies. And most of the time, you're not just getting one offer, you're getting multiple ones. How does this work? And how can you actually use them to improve the actual offers that you get? We're going to talk about an important topic of handling rejection. We're all going to get rejected one day. I don't think I've ever met anybody who's been accepted to every single job that they've applied for. We're going to talk about getting a raise and how it's actually a lot simpler than you might think. And obviously, we're going to be talking about negotiation and some of the negotiation tactics and techniques that is going to help you throughout these other videos and other lessons to prepare you for the real world. So, lots to cover. It's going to be a fun one. Let's get started. Even the greatest of engineers sometimes get rejected. Just like in dating. Sometimes two of the greatest people in the world may not be the right fit for each other. Rejections don't really mean anything, especially when it comes to interviewing. Because nobody really cares about the rejection. It doesn't go on your resume. It doesn't go on your LinkedIn profile. It just disappears once you get rejected. You see, winners and people that are good at interviewing just get up after a rejection and go on and keep swinging. I'm using a baseball reference here. I hope people understand. So here's the fun fact. I myself got rejected from numerous jobs. Does that make me a bad coder? Does that make me a bad employee? I mean, maybe. But it also means that it wasn't the right fit for one another. It's probably good that they rejected me because I probably wouldn't have enjoyed working for them. Or I wouldn't have gotten the jobs that I had if I wasn't rejected by the previous ones. You see, rejections are never a predictor of success. 99 rejections and one offer is better than 2 rejections and no offer. So it's all a statistic game. All you need to do is go out and bat, go swing, get interviews, and no matter how many times you're rejected, all you need is that one. And if you get more than one, that's just a bonus. So when you get rejected, see if you can extract as much information or feedback as possible from the company. Tell them that you're constantly looking to improve and that you love some feedback. I mean, they already rejected you. What's the harm in asking? Might as well get some information out of it. And then finally, ask them when it would be okay to reapply if you're still interested down the road. You see, I know a few people who have been rejected by numerous companies and they just kept applying and eventually got hired. I actually know a person working at Google who did exactly that. So don't burn any bridges. Just ask them when you can apply again. Just remember, think about how much of our life we actually spend searching for jobs versus actually working. We actually don't spend a lot of time in our overall life applying to jobs, interviewing. So if you look at the grand scheme of things, don't be disappointed if you don't get hired within a week. You should spend time looking for jobs and opportunities because most likely you're going to be there for a long time. So you want to make it count. You also can't say that you're unhireable and get depressed or sad because you had a few rejections. Sometimes luck just plays a role in interview. So just don't take it personally. It's okay to fail. I failed multiple times. Everybody fails. Sometimes you just have a bad day. It's not the end of the world if you fail, right? For companies, for example, they're more likely to say no than say yes because it is a big risk for them to hire somebody. You're going to start getting doubts in your mind about your abilities and your skills with all these rejections. However, like I said before, If you fail 10 times, try 10 times more. All you need is that one success. I promise you that if each day you're learning, you're getting better and better, your skills are improving, then one day you will get that offer. Most people just don't go out and keep adding. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Let's talk about negotiating. Now, first off, I am no expert in negotiating or tactics. There are people who are better than me at this, and there's a lot of cultural standards and norms that may apply. So I'm going to tell you what has worked for me, and also what I have seen work for others. Underneath it all, there are some few basic principles that can be applied. And this common theme and common tactics is something that will help you as well. But keep that in mind. Cultures do play a big role here. All right, let's get started. If you get asked, what salary do you want in an interview? What do you say? Think about this for a second. You can pause the video. What will be your answer when somebody asks you, what are your salary expectations? All right, you thought about it? This is what I would say. Well, I know that the average software developer in Silicon Valley, let's say I'm applying there, makes roughly $120,000 a year. So I think that's a good place for us to start. That was it. That's what I would say. Now, why is that? And this goes to my very first point. You don't want to end the conversation. You see what I did here? I didn't actually answer their question and say, well, I want $90,000 per year. All I did was do something called anchoring, where I tell them this is where we want our conversation to start. I want the conversation to start around the number $130,000 a year. And I'm not saying that this is what I want to get paid. This is just simply me starting our conversation so that we can talk about things. All I said was the average software engineer. In negotiation, especially when it comes to salary negotiation, you're going to want to give an actual number to end the conversation. Instead, you want to keep the conversation going by giving something like an industry average and make it clear that you're merely starting the negotiation here and not ending it. And that's how we start negotiating. Let's talk about the next point. We want to give reason for everything because we all know the problem with negotiating, right? If you say you want more salary or more vacation time, we kind of sound greedy. We don't want to sound greedy and that we're money hungry and that all we do is care about these numbers and ourselves. As we know, nobody really likes greedy people, right? As a matter of fact, this is the main reason people don't negotiate. They just don't want to offend people and seem mean and hungry just for money. Instead, you want to give a reason for everything. For example, if somebody gives you an offer, and this is something that we'll talk in later on videos, and says, hey, we're going to offer you $80,000 a year. What do you think? Are you in or are you out? Instead of saying, well, no, I need more time, maybe you could say something along the lines of, well, thank you very much for this offer. It's very generous and I'm very excited potentially working with your company. However, this is a big family decision and I'm looking to work at a company for many years. So I would like to discuss this with my wife or my partner and have some time to make sure that this is something we are both comfortable with. And you see what I did here? I just asked for more time or to not give an answer right away, perhaps over the phone, and instead speak to my partner. And all I did was give reason why I'm doing things. I'm not being selfish. I don't want more time just strictly for myself. This is something that I'm doing because I have somebody else that is involved in the decision. And by giving a reason like that, as an interviewer, that makes sense, right? I mean, the interviewer would be doing the same in your shoes. Let's talk about the next point. Always negotiate. I cannot emphasize this enough. See, negotiation is quite difficult and it is uncomfortable for most people. Actually, I've never met somebody that just loves negotiating. Maybe one or two. But negotiating is very tricky because it is very different between social dynamics and cultures and demographics. Appropriate advice for somebody in North America who's a white male may be different than somebody in a completely different location. There are so many factors at play here, and you know your culture best. But at the same time, don't use that as a reason to not negotiate. Being able to negotiate is present in all cultures. And you got to keep that in mind. You're never going to damage a relationship or have an offer revoked just by negotiating. I've never heard of anybody doing that or a company saying, no, we're taking the offer off the table because you're negotiating. So always negotiate. If you never ask, the answer is always no. And the larger the company, usually the more room they have to negotiate. I actually have a friend who works at a company where the same two developers that have the same job description, the same responsibilities, have a difference of $60,000 salary difference. One negotiated when they got hired, the other one didn't. And the other one is going to get raises and is going to increase, but it's going to take a lot longer for them to make up that $60,000 difference. Another point, and this is a very important one, is be positive. You have to realize that negotiating doesn't mean being mean. It's the exact opposite. You want to explore the situations that are available to you. And negotiations are win-win situations. If you go into a negotiation thinking that you have to screw over the other person, or there's always one person that wins and one person that loses, that's not a good way to negotiate. Negotiation is finding a balance between what two people want. And then finally, when negotiating, you have to have stakes. What does that mean? No, that doesn't mean delicious meat. Stakes means you have to have something on the line. If there's no risk, and you knew for sure that the other side would sign a contract or accept the salary, then what incentive do they have to offer you more? If they know that you're desperate and this is the only job that you can get, well, there's zero chance of you negotiating with them. Your alternatives is what stakes are. By showing companies that you have other options, maybe you have multiple offers or another company that wants to hire you, you allow the person across the table who's negotiating with you to know that you're willing to walk away from the table without a deal. And that gives you a lot of power. So the best thing to allow you to negotiate is to have other options. You see, recruiters are always willing to negotiate if they want you, especially when they have a chance to lose you. Nothing makes a recruiter more angry or nervous than losing to a competitor company. And that's why you'll see people that have job offers from a big company like Amazon or Google that are able to get hired really easily at other companies like Microsoft, because those companies are competing with each other for some of the top developers or engineers. And if one wants a candidate, it means it's good enough for the other. And before I finish this video, I want to give another example of something that happened to me. I once got contacted by a book publisher, and they wanted me to co-author a book. And initially, they offered to pay a certain amount upfront before the book got published, and then I would get a percentage of the royalties. Instead of just accepting the offer, I messaged back and said that I'm very thankful for the opportunity and it sounds fantastic. However, based on the scope, time, and research that will take to write this book, I would like to discuss a higher upfront payment. I was very positive. I also told them that my time is valuable, so I showed them stakes that this is something that if I do it, it will take away from my other projects. I negotiated by telling them that I would like to ask for more. I gave a reason to the fact of why it deserves more upfront payment. And I kept the conversation going. And because of that, they came back with a higher upfront payment just by sending one email. But now let's talk about more detailed things, such as handling offers and getting raises. Using these techniques that we discussed, we're going to go into the next couple of videos and see how we can apply this to real life situations. I'll see you in that one. Bye-bye. Congratulations. You just received an offer from a company. You should be proud of yourself. Pat yourself on the back, take a couple of breaths, and now let's talk about what you should do next. You just received an offer. What is your response going to be? If you say, yep, this sounds great, let's do it, you just ended the conversation. You just accepted, and you've closed the door on any sort of negotiation. That's it. As a recruiter or an interviewer, their job is done. They hired you. But is there a better way? Remember, we don't want to end the conversation here. Instead, you might want to say something along the lines of this. This sounds fantastic. I really thought this was a great fit when I met you and I interviewed you, and I'm really glad to see that we both agree and you see a good fit here. Right now, I'm talking to a few other companies, so I can't really speak to the full details of the offer until I'm done with the interviewing process and I'm closer to making a decision. But I'm sure that we can find something that works great for us, because I would really love to be part of your team, and I had a great time interviewing and I could really see myself working there long term. You see what I did there? I kept the conversation going and I let them know that I'm interviewing at other companies, but I didn't seem very greedy. I instead said that I would love to work from them, but I want to make sure that I make the right decision based on the offers that I get. Remember, I was very positive. You want to be positive when handling an offer. You don't want to seem greedy or that you're just shopping around. And ideally, when you receive an offer, the first thing that you should try and do is to ask for more time to make your decision, especially if this is your first offer. Because ideally, you're not just interviewing at one company. You're interviewing at multiple companies. And ideally, if you're well prepared, like you have been in this course, then you're going to have a few more offers coming in. So time is the most valuable thing you can ask for here. The more time you have, the more time you have to have offers from different companies so you can make the right decision and pick the one or the company that has the best package for you. Now, you just received an offer. You just told them that you're very excited and you're waiting around for a few more things. And you also asked for time and you have an idea of when they want to give you a response. The next thing you want to do is, after you receive the offer, to let the other companies know. Again, if you're already interviewing at other companies, you now have a very powerful tool. You have stakes. You should be reaching out to all these companies that you haven't received an offer from to let them know that you've just received an offer. And you want to build a sense of urgency here, as if you have a timeline, a deadline where you have to say yes or no to an offer, so you would like to hear from these other companies as well. And this is a classic psychological technique. Remember, you're right now in the best part of interview, where the ball is in your court and you get to decide what company you want to work for. So you can actually send out an email like this to the other companies. Hello, name of company or person. I just wanted to let you know and give you an update on my interviewing process. I've just received an offer from another company. You can give the company name, which is quite strong. With that said, I'm really excited to potentially be working with your company. I had a really good time interviewing with you, and I really wanted to see if we can make things work, since my timeline is now a little bit compressed with this new offer. Is there anything we can do to make the process go a little bit faster? And that's it. You've just let the other companies know that there's another offer. The other companies know that you're wanted and you're needed somewhere else. This creates a lot of social proof. And also creates urgency, two psychological techniques that really, really help in negotiation. You now have stakes. You have to realize what a company's goals are. A company's goal is to hire someone who will become an effective employee and produce more value than the salary that they're paying them. What's going to cost to hire you? Companies try their best to figure out which candidates can produce that value. It's a risky business, right? And it's impossible to know for certain until they start working at the company and start producing results. But there are a few ways of companies finding out. That's what they interview for. That's why they have coding challenges or coding interviews. And another one is to see if somebody else wants them. If another company wants you, that means you succeeded through their interviewing process. When you're interviewing at big companies and you have an offer from a big company or a competitor, let's say you're interviewing at Microsoft and Google just made you an offer, you should definitely mention that, even the company name, to Google so that they know you're wanted. That creates a lot of social proof. So remember, no matter how useless or pointless you think this email to other companies may be, you want to send this signal to everybody, letting them know that a company wants you. It's a huge, powerful negotiation tool. Finally, always know when the deadline is to respond to an offer. Be honest with them and tell them that you're waiting on other offers from other companies. And you want to make sure that you make the right decision. They may want to try and rush you and tell them that you have to give them an answer by tomorrow. And you have to ask yourself, is that the type of place that you want to work? They should respect your time and the fact that you are trying to figure out the best option. When you're declining an offer, be polite and don't burn any bridges. Don't be mean, because you never know when you might see them down the road. Or the person who is the recruiter there might move to a different company. And you never know when good relationships might take you further along down your career. So let's go over a few things. What should you do? The first thing is, when you receive an offer, you should know exactly what salary you want. You have to go in there knowing what your value is, what you're willing to get paid. You need to make sure that you do your research on the average industry pay. You want to make sure that you're getting paid what the average professional in your industry is getting paid or above it. So you want to do your research and use websites like salary.com, glassdoor.com, payscale.com, or just simply Google it. And I'll leave resources for you to find this out after this video. The next, what value do you provide? You know what type of salary you want, but really ask this question and be able to answer yourself, what value are you going to provide for the company? What would you improve in the company? What type of traits do you have that make you a valuable hire? Think about how the company is going to derive value from you. And by doing this research beforehand, you're able to use this when negotiating your salary. And you can mention how you would provide value and why you deserve perhaps a higher salary or a higher offer than they've currently given. And then finally, you want to always go higher than what you wish to get, because most likely they're not going to agree with your initial demands. And you want to meet somewhere in the middle where both parties feel like they have a win-win situation. So if you know your salary, you know what value you're going to provide to the company, then when perhaps talking about an offer, go into that negotiation and make sure that your initial start is higher than where you might land. That's it for now. Let's talk about an even more exciting topic in the next video, which is what to do if you're lucky enough to get multiple offers. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Handling multiple offers. This is a great problem to have. If you're able to get multiple offers, well, then you're definitely doing something right. This should be your goal. Your goal going into interviews is not to say, I really hope they hire me. I hope I just get one offer. Ideally, you get multiple offers. The more choices we have, the better we can make a decision on where we should go, where we should work. But first of all, congratulations if you got to this point. Someone finds your skills valuable. But what do you do if you have multiple offers? We know what to do when there's one offer, but what if you have two or more companies interested in you now? You first have to decide which company you want. And you're hopefully handling each of these companies, letting them know that the other has made an offer, and you have figured out what sort of salary and benefits that you're going to get. But salary and benefits aren't the only thing that should matter to you. And over here, I've created a list for you, a priority list of what should go into deciding which company to work for. Number 1 being the most important, and number 5 being the least important, at least in this list. This rank of importance, and keep in mind that this is based on individual situations, should be a guideline for you to decide what company you should go with. The first one is that, is there an offer that you feel you're underqualified for? Is one of the companies offering your job that you think is way over your head, way harder than the skills that you think you have? Because if that's the case, you should go with that company. You're not taking a job to do the same thing that you already know what to do. You're taking a job to grow and learn so that next time you interview, next time you're looking for a job, you're even better skilled, better prepared, more valuable. So if one of the jobs is way harder than the other, then that's a good sign that you should take it, because that's the one that's going to allow you to really push your skills to the next level. And this relates to the second point, long-term growth potential. Between the two offers, which one allows you to grow? This means not just your skills, being able to become a better engineer, a better programmer, developer, whatever it is you're looking for, but also, is the company growing? Do you have an ability to perhaps grow into that position and get promoted and in better position, better roles? Long-term growth potential. Don't just look at the short term here. So in 5 years, if you stay at this company in 5 years, will you still be doing the same thing? Hopefully not. Third is, will you respect the people you're working with? Are you going to be the smartest person in the room or the dumbest person in the room? Which one do you think is better? If you're the smartest person at a company, well, you're not growing as much, are you? You're not learning from others. You may be in charge and that may be good, but if you're an engineer, developer, programmer, you're looking to improve your skills. If your coworkers, people around you, are way smarter than you, that allows you to really grow and learn. And that's a really important factor. The next one, yes, everybody's favorite, salary and benefits. It's pretty surprising that it's number 4, right? But we're thinking long-term here. Salary and benefits aren't as important as the ones on the top, in the 1, 2, and 3 spot. And most people put this first, but there's a classic psychological study where they present a cake to some young kids. And they say that you can have this cake now, or if you wait 10 minutes, you can get 2 pieces of cake instead of 1. And they studied immediate gratification versus long-term gratification. And I don't know how accurate the study is, but the point of the study was that the kids who waited for 2 pieces of cake, instead of just eating the cake right away and not waiting, the kids who waited were more successful long-term throughout their careers. The idea of delayed gratification, not looking at the immediate benefits, but looking at long-term benefits. Keep in mind that salary doesn't include just money. There's also moving expenses, bonuses, stock options, healthcare, and a whole lot of other packages. So your final decision when it comes to salary and benefits is to combine all of those. Finally, the fifth point is your decision based on desperation? You got to remind yourself, are you doing this because you think you won't get any other offers like this? Because that's not good. You most likely won't stay at this company for that long of a time, or at least not for your entire life. Most likely, you'll move on to another company in a few years and go through the interview process all over again. So make the decision with that in mind. Is this company worth it? Am I just accepting a job because I'm desperate and I think this is the only option am I going to get? Because if you're going to be in the same position 2 years from now, then that won't really help you, will it? The final decision when it comes to companies is to think about how this will look in the narrative of your life. Will this look good on my resume? If it does, then you should take that job. Don't take the job that's the most comfortable, the easiest, or you're confident that that's the easiest. Take the job that will push you and really stretch and grow you in your career. And at the end of the day, pick the option that will make you happy. If you don't enjoy something, you probably won't be giving it your all anyway. If your job gives you purpose and makes you happy, that's probably a good sign too. And then finally, when you're rejecting an offer from another company, just never burn down bridges. Be nice to people, and you never know when this will come back to help you in the future. I wanted to give you an example of one of my situations when I have multiple offers from each company. I told both companies that I have gotten an offer. I actually managed to get one of the companies to give me an offer after the first company sent the offer and gave me a deadline. So I did exactly like I said in the previous videos, messaged the other company, letting them know that there was an offer on the table. I then had both offers from these companies, and they actually kept increasing the salary because they knew that I was wanted by others. I actually ended up picking the job with a lower salary than the other one because of all these factors that you see here today. And I am here where I am because of that decision. That wasn't the only decision. There's going to be many decisions throughout your life, but really think about the long-term implications. And make sure that you're happy with the decision that you make. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Welcome back. Let's talk about another fun topic, and that is getting a raise. How do we go about doing this? Getting a raise is hopefully not that hard. Because remember, if somebody hired you, that means they find you valuable. But in order to get a raise, you have to be a good employee. If you're a terrible employee, you don't do your work on time, you don't provide good quality work, then getting a raise is not realistic. So the first step is to actually be a good employee. And hopefully, because you're taking this course, you are the type of person who really values their skills and has a strong, self-determined work ethic. I mean, you're teaching yourself how to ace the interviews. You're definitely the type of person who's determined to succeed. So that's a good sign. And when you start a job, you want to hit the ground running. The better you are as the employee, the more likely you are for them to keep you around. And one thing that I really like to do before you start a job is to plan out your career path ahead of time at this company, before your first day on the job. And this should be in the back of your mind throughout your career. This way you have an idea of where you want to be in 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 years at the company. And you can check up on that to make sure that you don't become complacent. You don't just stay in the same role and not grow and just become comfortable. But anyway, let's talk about getting a raise. How do we do it? Well, luckily for you, there are just 2 steps that we're going to go over. First things first is that getting a raise is one of the easiest ways to earn money. You know how we all try to save money by not buying a coffee, buying gasoline for our car when the gas is cheaper? But those are really good ways to save money, but getting a raise and getting paid more is just an easier way for you to have more money. So it's a very, very important thing. The first step that we want to do is to actually ask for a raise. I know it's a silly point to have, but you have no idea how many times people say, oh, my company doesn't really do raises. Or people thinking that by asking for a raise, they're considered rude and they're going to get fired. Especially as an engineer. At the end of the day, you'll get a raise if you provide value to the company. If you never ask, the answer is always no. For example, $10,000 means a lot more to you than it does to a company because, well, they have a lot more money than you. So think about it this way. If you owned a business and you had an employee that is fantastic, great, would you pay them $10,000 more on top of their salary just out of the kindness of your heart? I mean, you might, but most likely you're not going to unless they ask. But if they ask, you value them, right? Finding a new employee to do the work, to train them and hopefully be as good as you are is going to cost your business a lot of money. You're not going to say no to a, let's say, 10% increase in their salary because it means a lot less to you. So keep that in mind. For companies, hiring and training people is really expensive. They rather keep the good employees that they have. It's a lot cheaper to do so. So always ask for a raise. All companies, if you provide enough value, should have the capacity to give you raises. But here's the thing, and this is the second part. You have to show, don't tell. You can't just say, I'm valuable, can I have more money? You actually want to show them why you're valuable. Let me explain. When asking for a raise, you don't just go in and ask for it. You want to make a presentation, maybe a one-page summary, or a document perhaps, or an email to your boss, offering proof that you're driving the metrics, the numbers that matter to them. This way you show you're a great investment and you show the numbers, the stories, the reason why you should get a raise. If you don't have a reason and you just want a raise and you just say that, it doesn't make sense. So hopefully you're a good employee, a good engineer, and you're contributing to the company. And at the end of the day, there's no easy way around it. What you're going to do is during your first months at the job, I would personally keep a folder with all the good things you have done for the company. And this is something that I've done myself as well. Problems you have solved, money you've saved, great comments or feedbacks you have gotten from clients and coworkers, emails, and perhaps keep track of your skill level from the first day on the job to the 6 months mark. What did you learn? What did you improve on? List all these skills you have acquired and list what you plan to accomplish in the next 6 months. Write this all out in a document. By writing a one-page letter showing example of this, proof of how good of an employee you are, what you've learned, what your plans are for the next 6 months to improve the company. Now you have a way to meet with the person in charge of making the salary decision and actually give them this piece of document that shows why you deserve a higher salary, why you're a different person than you were when they first hired you, when they didn't know that you were going to be valuable. And finally, you want to ask for a salary level a lot higher than you actually want. So a good general rule is 10,000 more than you actually want. Because most likely they're going to meet you in the middle, and this will make the middle the happy ground for both parties. Okay, and I know what you're thinking. It's not going to work, Andre. It may have worked for you, but not for me. And this sounds very blunt. Some people are worried about asking raises, and it's an uncomfortable situation. But let me ask you this. If both employer and employee respect each other, value each other, shouldn't this be normal to find a middle ground where both parties are happy? After all, look at all the good that you have done for them. Like I said before, it's very expensive for companies to hire new developers, new engineers. You're already established yourself. You've proven yourself and you've done a great job at the company. They want to keep you around. Value yourself because they value you. To finish off, I just want to give an example of a little story of how I managed to get raises. At my previous job, I got a raise every 6 months. And it wasn't because they just gave it to me. It's because I asked for a raise every 6 months. And every 6 months, I received a raise. As a matter of fact, one time, I got a raise that, well, I wasn't happy with. And I said why I thought it should be more. And they actually agreed and came back and gave me an even higher raise. And that story is not just for me to boast and show off, but to show you that it's possible. You have to ask. If you never ask, the answer is always no. Show why you deserve the raise, and you'll be surprised at how easy it is to do so. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Well done. You just finished another section. And congratulations. Someone finds your skills valuable. And this is the fun part, right? Offers and negotiations. Being able to handle those properly. It's something that most people don't really think about because they're so focused on getting a job that when they actually receive an offer or they're on the job, they're not really prepared to handle negotiation, handle salaries, handle offers. Which, let's be honest, you get these throughout your life, throughout your career. You're going to have to handle these situations. And it's one of the best things you can do in terms of investment, is being prepared for these. So I hope this section taught you how to handle rejection, how to handle offers, how to handle multiple offers, some basic tips on negotiation, and how to get a raise and ask for a raise. At the end of the day, we worked so hard to get here. The easiest part is this, where we're able to set ourselves up for the rest of the year, the rest of our career at a company, in a way that we're happy and satisfied with our job, with our salaries, and with our benefits. But there's one overall theme in all of this, and that is you want to treat people well. You don't want to create enemies. And if you do it properly, you won't. Be a nice person. Be positive. Don't burn bridges. Negotiation and asking for salary isn't going to create enemies. It's just two parties having a conversation to meet in the middle and both be happy. And just like a muscle, just like we train our coding skills, practicing negotiating, practicing how to handle offers is a muscle that you can train. So go out there and negotiate your